applications at the times listed or as soon thereafter as they may be reached. At such time, all interested parties will be given an opportunity to be heard. Application number 71-24, Mark and Valerie Shivers. Permission to leave pool patio having side yard of 5.5 feet instead of required 6 feet, and pool equipment having side yard of 4 feet and rear yard of 5.5 feet instead of required 6 feet each. Residence A District, east side of Handsome Avenue, 566.95 feet north of Maple Street, Sayville.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services with offices at 231 Islip Avenue, Islip, New York. We are here today seeking a variance for a pool patio and pool equipment. Both were originally placed on the plot plan for the permit application in conforming locations. However, during construction, due to a little bit of builder's error and a little slight difference in the fence versus the actual property line, they're slightly off from the required setbacks.
Thank you. Any questions from the board on this? No. Okay. Does anyone else would like to be heard in this application? I'll take a motion.
Make a motion that we grant the application.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
Thank you.
Application number 72-24, Nathaniel and Justine Fox. Permission to leave pool patio having side yard of 3 feet instead of required 6 feet. Residence B District, west side of Belmore Avenue, 559.26 feet north of Madison Street, East Islip.
Good evening. I'm Nathaniel Fox, homeowner.
Good evening, Mr. Fox.
Good evening.
You're on the pool patio?
Yes.
We just granted one, so we used up all of our.
There's no more patios.
Any questions from the board?
No.
Lenny, any comments? Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? I'll take a motion.
Make a motion to grant the application.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Application number 73-24, Joel Pena Nunez and Francis Garcia. Permission to leave patio having side yard of 1.5 feet and driveway having side yard of 3 feet instead of required 4 feet each. Residence A District, north side of Bruce Lane, 1,022.63 feet east of Comac Road, Brentwood.
Good evening.
Please give us your name and address.
Yes, my name is Francis Garcia. This is my husband, Joel Peña. We reside at 29 Bruce Lane, Brentwood, New York. And yeah,
And you're just here on the pool patio, on the patio, the driveway.
yes.
Questions from the board on this? Lenny, any comments on this? No. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? Take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Application is granted.
Good night.
Application number 74-24, Isamar Lorano Frias, Isangela Liriana Frias, and Carolina Frias. Permission to use dwelling for family use only pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-419.1. Residence A District, east side of Montauk Avenue, 779.15 feet north of Comac Road, Brentwood.
Good evening. She doesn't speak English, so I'm gonna try my best.
Just speaking to the microphone so we can hear you better.
So she doesn't speak English, so she's here for get permission for 2 families.
What's your name and address?
I'm Josue Soriano on 25 Second Avenue. And Josue Soriano, Soriano. No problem.
That's how you pronounce that name. Good to know.
Josue, yeah.
I did not know that.
Soriano.
No, Josue.
Oh, Josue?
Yeah, Josue.
Oh, I never. Jose?
Josue.
Oh, UE. Oh,
Yeah. So she's here now for get permission for 2 family on the 55 Mountain Avenue.
Who will be living in?
Her stepfather and mother on the apartment. I don't live there.
No, so she'll be living in the main residence?
Yeah,
Mother and stepfather,
and yep,
and her stepfather is 72? or
76.
76.
Oh,
76.
there it is.
76.
Any questions from the board? Anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? Okay, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted. Have a good night.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Application number 75-24, Nicholas and Amanda Koch. Permission to erect second-story addition with porch, leaving side yard of 23.2 feet instead of required 25 feet, and total side yards of 41.4 feet instead of required 60 feet. Residence AAA District, west side of Seaman Avenue, 82.18 feet north of Browns River Road, Bayport.
Good evening. My name is Nicholas Koch. I reside at 130 Seaman Avenue. And everything you mentioned is exactly what we're here to see if we can get approved here tonight.
Right there.
130. No, that looks like,
Yeah, that's a three.
Yep, 130. That's the lot.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's the lot. Yeah, with the U-shaped driveway.
Oh, okay. Here on the side yards. Correct?
Yes.
Any questions from the board on this?
I'll do the motion. I'll do it.
Let's just see if planning has. any
Oh,
questions.
yeah.
Planning, have any
I wasn't paying
questions?
attention.
Any hands on this? No. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application?
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
application number 11-24, adjourned from January 16, 2024, Craig and Melissa Watkins. Permission to install in-ground pool, leaving side and rear yards of 5 feet instead of required 10 feet each, and to leave driveway on side property line, not having required setback of 4 feet. Residence B District, west side of Washington Place, 200 feet north of West Fifth Street, West Islip.
Hi, good evening, Board. Justin Phillips of NYCD Group Expeditors and Drafters, representing Craig and Melissa Watkins. Phillips, Phillips.
How will we adjourn last?
So we were originally requesting 2 variances for a 5-foot side and a 5-foot rear. We've adjourned to redesign it. We've deleted the 5-foot side variance requests.
I see you just looking for the rear yard.
Correct.
The driveway.
Amendment.
In the driveway.
Yes.
In the driveway.
On this pool, just the rear yard.
Yeah, so we have to amend the call of the meeting to remove the side yard from consideration.
All right, so any questions from the board on this? Any comments? No? Anybody else like to be heard in this application? Okay, so first we'll take a motion to amend the call of the meeting, removing the reference to side yard of 5 feet. Motion to amend it.
Make a motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, motion on the whole application.
Make a motion that we grant the application as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
We actually vote on it? Oh, yeah, never mind. Yeah, I thought you just made the motion to amend it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard grant the application as amended.
yeah,
That's what I heard.
And we voted.
I think so.
Yeah.
yeah.
Anybody here?
I was only half.
That was only-
Application number 76-24, Ajni Realty LLC. Permission to leave, second-story addition resulting in floor area ratio of 29.5% instead of permitted 25%. Driveway having side yard of 1 foot instead of required 4 feet, and 4-foot fence in sight distance triangle exceeding permitted height of 3 feet. Residence B District, north side of Palm Road, 150 feet west of Brook Avenue, Bay Shore.
Hi, good evening. You see the driveway, they have like a 2 feet.
One second.
Really,
Can you just give us your name and address?
my name is Jose Cruz, AJM, PLT LLC. I'm a sole member of the company. The address is 6 Palm Road on Bay Shore, New York. I bought the house like a year ago. That was already the driveway the way it is, and it's a dormer on the front, on the left side of the house. We install egress window there. The building department says that is no problem with that. It's being like that, all the houses in that area looks like it's the same shape. If you go the other house and the front of the other house, it's exactly the same thing. Looks like everybody, the builder build it that way, but in the building department, the plans is submitted differently. Bought the house like a year ago.
Did you receive any tickets from the town on the site triangle?
No. I bought the house like a year ago, almost a year, and with some open permits, we closed it out everything, did whatever the town was requesting. And in the front of the house, you see that picture over there? That small window, that was the request to change that window to egress window. We did it.
I'm just concerned about the site
Fences.
triangle. Is that safe?
Solid or?
Say it again?
There, okay.
I'm concerned about the site triangle in
That's a good
practice,
idea.
because that's safety. It's not just somebody's deck is 6 inches too long. Is
that
it
your fence?
The fence? Yes, that's our
3
fence.
feet?
It is supposed to be in the site triangle. It is planning's opinion that it's not really a huge concern here, specifically because the fence is pretty far set back behind the grass verge and the sidewalk. Anybody pulling out of there is going to be able to see oncoming traffic before they actually get into the road. Site triangle does extend pretty far back beyond what I would
What-
personally consider a safety concern,
Well,
but
I get that. I'm just curious. And again, it doesn't look like it's earth shaking. But why do they have it, the code have it set back that far if it's not important?
Because it was originally intended for corners.
it's for intersections as well, but in this case, it's also for driveways. I believe we got it from DC. Just a long time.
All right.
I think you're partly making that opinion right, Nick, because it's not a solid.
Yeah, it's not solid, it's sort of you can see through it to some degree, but also
You're
you're
saying-
not going to be in the road.
So
as
you're
well.
saying as you're backing out, and let's say you're going over the sidewalk, you should be able to look left and right.
Yeah.
All right.
Any other questions from the board? Any other comments?
No other.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application?
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
So Bruce, thank you.
Application number 77-24, Carl Drive Properties LLC. Permission to leave roof line alteration having side yard of 10.6 feet and roof 2 foot by 8 foot over entrance platform having side yard of 6.8 feet instead of required 14 feet each, and patio on side property line not having a required setback of 4 feet. Residence B District, east side of Carl Drive, 225 feet south of Babe Ruth Street, Bay Shore.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services with offices at 231 Islip Avenue, Islip, New York. We are here today to seek a variance for an existing roof line alteration, an existing roof over entrance platform, and an existing patio on the side property line instead of the required 4 feet. The roof line alteration is in line with the dwelling itself. The dwelling is situated closer to the south side of the property, resulting in a side yard setback of 10.6. As can be seen by the photographs provided by the property owner, they look more of a decorative 2-foot overhang, not requiring any front yard variance. The roof over the entrance platform is small. It's about 16 square feet. And the patio is along the side of the dwelling and a small portion of the rear of the property, all of which have been in existence for about 10 years or more.
Roof line alteration, where, and I understand it's on the roof, but where are we supposed to guess that is?
Do you have the picture, Nick, that we provided? Otherwise, I can give a picture.
Is it the front, the side?
It's at the front of the dwelling. It's the 2-foot overhang
Is that
and the top.
front door overhang?
It's actually not the front door.
The
It's
side
the,
door.
it's because it's close to the side property line, so it's just the overhang that comes off of the front of the house.
You can actually, on the aerial, see the reverse gable on the front of the house. Thank you, Nick. Yep, that's a reverse gable.
Okay.
So they changed the original roof line, which more simple, like the house to the north of it, and added a small amount of second story area under that reverse gable.
So small, I can't even see it.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
Any other questions from the board?
No.
Any other comments? No. Anyone else that would like to be heard in this application?
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Application number 78-24, West Adams Realty LLC. Permission to leave one-story addition 14.8 by 31.4, having side yard of 13.7 feet, and one-story addition 5 by 22 irregular, having side yard of 12.2 feet instead of required 14 feet each, and total side yards of 22.7 feet instead of required 28 feet. Residence B District, west side of Everdell Avenue, 202 feet south of Edmore Lane, West Islip.
Good evening, William Mahoney. I'm the president of West Adams Realty. My address is 131 Church Road, Great River, New York. Mahoney. You're welcome.
Mr. Mahoney, you're here just on the side yards, the two additions.
I am.
Any questions from the board on this?
No.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? Okay, I'll take a motion, please.
Motion, you, Bill?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to grant the application. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Application number 79-24, Dew Flag LLC. Permission to leave two-story addition having second front yard of 24.5 feet instead of required 30 feet. 4-foot fence on 18-inch wall having second front yard of 0.4 feet instead of required 10 feet. And to leave walls 18 to 24 inches in height on front, second front, and side property lines not having required setback of 4 feet each. Residence AA District, northeast corner of Joshua's Path and Evergreen Avenue, Central Islip.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Mark Alexander Espinal. My office is at 41 Colonial Road, Smithtown, New York. I'm here representing the owners, Dew Flag LLC. And yeah, we're requesting what the board member mentioned.
First question is on the walls. That, Planning, do you have any comment on that?
The walls have seemingly been there for several decades, going all the way back to maybe the 70s. So I don't really have too much of an issue with the wall itself. The fence on top of the wall, on the other hand, is effectively acting like about a 6-foot fence. It's my understanding that actually there's additional fencing here that's not being put on the street view now. So it's actually gotten more over time. I don't have confirmation of that.
Yes, I submitted pictures showing the new fence that was put up. In total, there's more than 4 feet. I'm not sure how much more up there. It's not 6 foot. It's probably closer to like a little 4.5, 5.
The fence itself is 4 feet, but it's on top of the wall, which is 18 to 24 inches. So it's almost 6 feet.
Oh, 6 feet. Yes. Okay.
We'll have to have a total of 4 feet.
Gotcha.
Either lower the fence or lower the wall.
Gotcha. Okay. We most likely will just take the fence off, leave the wall as it was before.
Or lower the earth.
Try that too.
The one-story addition, you have no problem on that, correct? The two-story.
And now is this on all sides? You want it removed? I believe you're
Fence in the wall has to be 4 feet.
on all sides.
Front yard and second front yard, so along the streets.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
As for the addition, it actually was heard a few years ago for 5, so really it's just a half a foot difference than previously granted. So it's going for so it's not.
It was heard and approved.
Yeah, 25,
Okay.
24.5.
This is just math error. Yeah, built it. See.
Is there anyone else would like to make a comment on this application? So then I'll take a motion to grant the portion of the application pertaining to the two-story addition having a second front yard of 24.5 feet instead of the required 30. 9 portion of the application pertaining to the 4-foot fence and to leave the walls are up, proving the walls.
Yeah, correct.
Take a motion,
Motion to deny the fence, deny the walls and grant the balance of the application.
not offense.
Yeah, deny the fence and the walls, I'm sorry.
We're actually.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Grant the fence,
Deny, grant the walls, deny the fence.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
So the,
Easier said than done.
Yeah.
the application granted,
Yeah, I got it.
addition and the walls, not the fence.
Not the fence on top, no problem. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Get ready to go. Application number 80-24, Kim Game. Permission to leave shed having front yard of 15.9 feet instead of required 35 feet, and 6-foot fence having front yard of 7.1 feet instead of required 10 feet. Residence AA District, 278 Cluster, southwest corner of Old Post Road and Town Line Road, Hauppauge.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. I'm here to request a variance for the fence and shed setback. I just want to make an administrative note that it says
Give us your name and address.
Kim Gem, 100 Old Post Drive. And I just wanted to make a note that it says road on the agenda.
Old Post
Drive.
It's actually drive.
Said
Well,
everything you want to say?
I purchased the home on June 15th of this past year. It's a home that needed a lot of work. It was kind of like an eyesore on an otherwise pristine block and community. We didn't move in for a couple of months because we had a lot of work to do. And we applied for a permit for a portico. And as a part of that process, they requested the survey. And that's how this setback issue came to light. And fence and the shed have been there for about 18 years, according to our neighbors. We have a lot more repairs to make, and, you know, we'll do so following the rules of the town of Islip.
What is the shed made out of?
Wood.
Is it right behind the fence?
Is this it right here, right behind the fence?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Well, the fence is a little high.
There's a lot of trees on the property too, all around the shed and the fence, so that's moving it would be a challenge. I mean, we might consider it somewhere down the line, but right now I have a lot of other projects to do. And the shed is in ill repair too, so.
Any other comments on this?
With regards to the fence, there actually is one case it's right across the street at 101 that was granted at 5-foot second front yard many decades ago on Town Line Road. Now that's the only precedent, but it is directly across the street and it was granted more than what this person's currently asking for with regards to that.
What height?
6 foot. The shed, there's no precedent for, and I don't see much. You move.
Do you know why the board granted the fence many decades ago?
I don't know the specifics, although interestingly, the house in question right now was brought up in that meeting as being like, hey, the other neighbor also has a fence close to it.
They just bounce back and forth.
Yeah.
I'd like to know the rationale behind that. I mean, this is what happens. We grant something, but it was done 30 years ago, and there may have been a particularly good reason. And now all of a sudden, it was a grant, and we don't know what the reason is.
In reading the minutes, I don't think a specific reason was necessarily given other than what was across the street. I could some conjecture about the Town Line Road being a busy road, and maybe they wanted to have the fence.
Yeah, with the woods and the characteristics of the road, I can.
What year was that?
Yes. That was 1981. Oh. Pretty soon after the cluster subdivision.
I think the shed's more of an eyesore. I think the shed is more of an eyesore.
I'm sorry? I mean, everything's a matter of time, money, and, you know, the other thing is it might fall apart when we try to take it apart. I mean,
Which would you rather move?
I'd rather,
Fence or the shed? We're gonna get one or the
well,
other.
he's gonna move it, so.
Want to take down the fence and put new fence? Or move
No, not really. And it is a very noisy corner too.
Then we can grant your request. leave the fence, but you gotta move the shed.
Move or get rid of?
What do we have what's behind door number 3?
Give us your name and address, sir.
Good evening. I'd like to help her out a little bit. My name is Thomas Hack and I actually live with her out on 100 Old Post Drive. The fence in question here,
Spell your name.
spell it Hacker. You're welcome. The fence
Fence of the shed.
you want to know about the fence of the shed?
Which one do you want to move?
Well, I like to move the shed.
Okay.
Leave the fence because the fence is
We'll
on a,
let you move the shed with that.
yeah, the fence is on a second
Okay.
front yard that everybody has a 6-foot fence. Thank you. How soon do I gotta move it? When I get home?
Not this minute, but
Okay,
Tonight would be good, right?
yeah.
I don't know if they'll,
It's
if you-
10 by 12.
I think if you indicate that it is to be moved to a conforming location, you'll get that permit for the portico. Is that what you're really seeking?
Okay, and there's another, variant, survey that has to be done?
We got,
They're seeking a building permit for
We
a
got-
portico, which doesn't need a variance.
We
That's
got-
what caused them to come.
right, no, it only came up because they requested a survey
Yeah.
for the portico. I already got the permit for the portico.
You got the permit, but you haven't started construction yet.
No, we said, we were told we could, but we haven't.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Well, that's good news that you got the permit in spite of the shed being there. So maybe you do want to put a time limit on it then. Or,
how much time do you want to move the shed?
Month?
3 months?
1 month.
oh,
I mean, I get it, the snow and everything.
Take three.
Three?
He's giving you
Okay, three's
three.
fine.
Give you 3
I
months.
think that every decision automatically gives you 90 days to move an existing.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
We don't need to put a time.
No, we don't have to.
Is the setback from the front yard or the side yard? The
Town Line
35 feet?
Road.
Yeah, the front yard.
It's from town line?
Yeah.
That's the second front yard. Okay,
But you also have to observe a setback beyond the front line of the house.
yeah, it is, that setback is okay. It's the other side that they're concerned about.
Okay, so then I'm gonna take a motion to amend the call of meeting, denying, not amend the call, deny the portion of the call regarding the permission to leave the shed having front yard of 15.9 instead of required 35, and approving 6-foot fence having a front yard of 7.1 instead of required.
That would be a motion. Yeah, it's hop up
Oh, I thought he was making a motion to amend.
twice.
Motion to,
Now, I would make a motion that we deny the portion of the application to leave the shed having a front yard of 15.9 feet instead of the required 35 feet, and that we grant allowing the 6-foot fence having a side yard of 7.1 feet instead of the required 10 feet.
Can I second it or?
You certainly can second it.
Okay, I'm going to proudly second.
And welcome back, by the way, Bill.
all in favor? Aye. Motion's granted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your
Thank you very much.
consideration.
I thought Ed lived in Honey. I didn't even know that.
Application number 81-24, David Reed. Permission to erect second-story addition 24.2 by 28, leaving side yard of 11.5 feet, and one-story addition 12 by 25.9, leaving side yard of 13.7 feet, instead of required 14 feet each, and one-story addition 4.3 by 12.3, all having floor area ratio of 28.3% instead of permitted 25%, and to install cellar entrance leaving side yard of 7.84 feet instead of required 14 feet. Residence B District, north side of Hemlock Street, 250 feet west of Boulevard Avenue, Central Islip.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Lou Schwartz. I'm with Tide Runner Engineering, and I'm the designer for Mr. Reed. This is Mr. David Reed. He's the homeowner. Yeah, SCHWARTZ.
Mr. Reed, you
Yes, hi. Yes.
could give us your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Dave Reed. I live at 33 Hemlock Street, Central Islip, New York, 11722.
Okay. Mr. Reed is looking to convert his cape into a colonial and add a sunroom. And while doing that, we found that the existing cellar entrance was in the side yard setback. But if you look on that side, the house is pretty far into the side yard setback there as well.
Okay, so they'll call the meeting because the denial was written in a way that it seemed that the cellar entrance was not there yet. So it's to leave the cellar entrance, right? Okay.
Motion to amend the call.
All in favor?
Aye.
So it's now reads to leave cellar entrance, leaving side yard of 7.84 feet.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any other questions on the board on this one? Danny, do you have comments on this?
With regards to the second story addition, the closest precedent for a side yard is 11.9. It's not a huge difference of 11.5 that they're asking for. With regards to the cellar entrance, I couldn't find any precedent for what they're asking for on that account. So there is a bit of weirdness where sometimes it is permitted encroachment. In this case, it doesn't qualify. Permitted encroachments are 8 feet instead of 15. I believe the reason it doesn't qualify is actually because the side yard didn't. So that's why it reads that way, and I can't find any precedent for it.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application?
Maybe I can ask Nick a question.
Maybe.
Maybe he can answer.
Maybe.
If we grant this with respect to the seller, and let's say we now grant it going forward, will it change the nature and character of the neighborhood or?
Of this neighborhood? I don't believe so. Several grants were driven with permitted encroachments above the 8.
Thank you.
Anybody want a question?
No.
Nick, I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application's granted.
Thank you. You guys have a good day.
You'd like note that in the decision, right?
What?
Then-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very close to the
cellar.
Yeah.
house had like 6 inch from the side
It doesn't matter.
I mean, this one, like I was just mentioning, does have the encroachment set to 8, which is still not meeting. We have one precedent for this. It was for 4.3, but that was denied. So it's only.
Precedent. Precedent.
The best case
Negative
is that it's a
precedent.
40. As opposed to 7.
It's real, yeah, it'll get better. More than that. Application number 82-24, Angel Nelson Velasquez and Maria Velasquez. Permission to leave cellar entrance having side yard of 6.3 feet instead of permitted encroachment setback of 8 feet and driveway on side property line currently encroaching, not having, is anybody here on that application? No.
There you go.
Application number 83-24, Nicole Valeka and Chris Scarpa. Permission to erect second-story addition, 29.2 by 31, leaving side yards of 7.9 feet and 17.6 feet instead of required 25 feet each, and total side yards of 25.5 feet instead of required 60 feet. Residence AAA District, east side of Smith Avenue, 1,233.7 feet south of Union Place, Islip.
Good evening. I'm Michael Dunn, the architect for the Scarpas at 256 Orinoco Drive, Brightwaters, New York, 11718. So the Scarpas are planning a second-story addition to their house. It's kind of a Cape-style, small, old summer cottage. It's a unique property in that the house is way in the back of the lot. It backs up to the park in the rear. And that was a question I did have. Do we have to amend the call to ask for a rear yard setback? And right now it was 30.9 instead of 40 in that AAA zone. It wasn't listed on the call.
Nice the way you say "we" like that. If we could have told us about it a little earlier, then we could have had it in the public notice. It's up to the board as to whether or not you'd like to do that amendment. We generally don't amend away from conformity, but this isn't, it's simply not noted at all. Just a little different.
It is a second story addition in line with what's there already.
How long has the house been there?
A long time. I think it's an old 80, 90-year-old house.
So it,
77.
All right.
I mean, it is interesting to note that usually the concern with amending at the hearing is that the public notice didn't reflect it, and it could be an impact on the impacted neighbor.
Right.
The impacted neighbor here is the Scully Estate, Webster's
It's,
Audubon
is that a
Society.
county park?
Hey,
Yeah.
can you zoom out for us so we could see who the impacted neighbor is? Yeah. So in other words, the public notice not reflecting the rear yard is really only impacting that very large, never to be developed property.
That's right.
So maybe
I don't have a problem with amending or taking the notice back.
Or is it 30.9 instead of 40? Is that what?
Yes.
So I'll take a motion to amend the call of the meeting to add rear yard setback 30.9 feet instead of the required 40 feet. Motion. Second. All in favor?
Aye. All right, thank you for that. So we do have a precedent next door. I guess there's a string of skinny lots in there, and the house has been there for over 100 years. So there is a small second story already, and we're bumping up the back a little bit to make it up to date and livable for a young family. The old ZBA case was 671-89, which grants similar setbacks.
So, Mr. Dunn, help me out here. It's 7.9 instead of 25. What is the existing 7.9?
Yes, the one side on the south is 7.9 existing, so we're just keeping in line with that going up.
I guess it's something that comes up often here, is that when you have something that's so compromised at 7.9 instead of 25, and now we're going to say put a second floor. I never understand the wisdom of that. I know that area, I went to that elementary.
Yeah, I played Little League back there.
I hit many a ball, foul balls.
Yeah.
Onto that.
Yeah.
So I don't understand the wisdom of when it's so aggressive that we allowed a second floor.
Right.
And it's 7.9. I mean, that's
There is a,
you lying down. That's about the distance.
yes. But if you look at the lot, the house is set way back, and the two neighbors are way forward. So it's not house to house. It's very unique property. The way it sits, the house is in the way back of the property. And the next door neighbor has similar setbacks too that have been approved by the board. So that was, I thought, would help them. He's the precedent.
what was that case number 687?
671-89 was granted 3.7 and 18 feet.
But that's 355 Smith.
Yeah, that's the one right above.
349 Smith.
349. Right.
Len, do you have any input on this?
Yeah, I spoke with Mr. Dunn earlier today about this one, and we agree. This lot is very, very substandard in terms of what they can do. It's less than 50 feet wide, and a residence AAA. Total side yards required for setbacks is bigger than the entire of the lot. So it's pretty much impossible for them to be anything close to conforming. With regards to impact, which would be the reason why, because I agree, being in line, it's not really ideal if you're going for a second story. But in this case, the closest house, like either side, it's like 300 feet from the street and more than 200 feet away from anybody else's house. It's so far back that I don't think there's any real impact to the neighbors if they go up in terms of privacy. Or really, they probably won't even notice it.
Anyone else that would like to be heard in this application?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we grant the application as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Case is granted.
Thank you very much. Good night.
I didn't see you left.
Application number 84-24, Daniela Munoz, to renew permit for accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-616. Residence A District, west side of Comac Road, 120.8 feet north of Brooks Street, Islip.
Good evening to the board and chairman. I'm appearing on behalf of Ms. Munoz. I'm from the office of McGuire, Pelez, and Bennett PC. My name is Timothy Sorrell, Sorell, and we're located at 98 Carlton Avenue, Central Islip, New York. Good evening. And obviously I'm here to advocate on behalf of Ms. Munoz for the renewal of the permit for the accessory apartment. They came to our offices very upset at some of the, I guess the last time they were here, some of the, I guess there were some allegations regarding them. And so we'd like to clarify some of those, as well as we are hoping that we can get an approval for this renewal on the rental permit. Well, my understanding is the last time Ms. Munoz was here is one, it was alleged that she was not a resident of the address, and she's brought documentation along with her driver's license to show that she is a permanent resident at the address. Second, there was also, they tell me that there was an allegation of drug dealing at the home. That's what was told to me the last time, that there was some insinuation of that, and that was another barrier to them getting a renewal permit. However, I have not seen any police reports. I have not seen any videos or images of any transient foot traffic or parked cars out there. Actually, where this residence is located is right by a school. There isn't even enough shoulder, and I have images, I have pictures of that area to even park a car.
Anything you want to submit to us? For consideration?
Well, I think it requires, because also my client has this is the front of the home.
How about the documentation, the proof of her residence?
Sure, she has it right here.
I have my driver's license. I have.
She giving us copies of these things, or?
Not a copy of the
You
license.
may have a copy of the voter.
Give your mortgage to Mr. McCabe, Bill.
I don't have copy.
Okay.
To the foundation.
We have your license in the file, Daniela.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application?
Well, I have time for a rebuttal because I have other pictures to submit.
I was one of them last time.
Sir, if you give us your name and address.
My name is Preston Hulse. I live at 23 Brook Street. I'm Hulse.
Where do you live in?
I'm right next to her
Okay, thank you.
on the big property on Brook Street.
Thank you.
Okay. The last time that we were here, we had a bunch of us, and one of your comments from the board was, I don't think that everybody was going down to the diner and say, no, let's go to the board meeting. If you go back into town, code enforcement and the public safety, there was numerous times that the cops were called for loud music till like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning.
I ask you one question. This was last on in August, is that right?
April.
Okay, so can you tell us what you observed between April and last night?
April, from April to last night was great. So instead of giving her 3 years, let's give her a 1. Because the thing is, if you give her, I'm sorry that you're laughing about this, but this has been in my backyard and I had to put up with it for 3 years. Okay, he shows you pictures that there's not enough parking. I should have brought pictures of double parking in where the school exit is by the fire hydrant, that there's enough egress in with the sidewalk that you can park a car here and you can park a car here, and then there's the white line. So you don't have to park in front of the house. You don't have to park in front of their house because you park in front of the other people's houses and everything else. They had a New Year's Eve party, was really great. It was nice and quiet, respectful. But it's New Year's Eve. We expected a party, but not every weekend from May until September.
But from
Since you
April- hang
granted
on,
them
hang
the
on,
6
hang on,
months.
Hang on. From April as of last night,
Great.
you say it's good, okay.
Great. I don't have any complaints with the neighbors as long as they respect the neighbors. When you call on a Saturday to public safety and they tell you to call Suffolk County says the noise is a town ordinance. Call the town.
Since last April.
That's since last April. But now here's my question to you. You grant them the 3 years. 6 months from now, they got noise at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning for more than one weekend. In the summertime, do we come back here and say, hey, they're making noise, do you revoke their permit, or do I have to suffer for another 2 years? That's my question to you. She stated that it was the first that she ever heard of the loud music. If you lived there, a deaf man could have heard the music because you woke me up on the west side of the house with the windows closed at 3 o'clock in the morning. Over 300 feet away. When COVID hit, my son was assistant living. My daughter is a nurse. They came back in June. We were sitting all the way across, 6 feet apart, all the way across my property, 200 feet away from her house. We can't talk. We couldn't hear each other. My son went up there and asked them to turn down the music. The lady almost ripped him a new ass, wanted to come over the fence.
That was all before April.
That was all before. But what I'm saying is, what insurance do I have that if you grant her 3 years, I don't have a problem in 6 months?
There's never insurance. We can't sit here and give you insurance. What are we supposed to do?
What am I
Guarantee you
supposed to,
this?
what am I supposed to do
Well,
if they start to go
that's part
back?
of leaving. We sat here, we gave her 6 months
Right.
to conform.
Right.
What you're telling me is she conformed for 6 months.
Yeah.
So now we shouldn't abide by saying, if you do this for 6 months and you act correctly, we'll reevaluate this. And you, in and of yourself, is saying she did the right thing.
Right.
So
But my question is, what happens after a year and she does?
if they don't do the right thing, like everyone else, you call code enforcement, it's a code enforcement problem at that point.
We done that and they said it's not our problem, call Suffolk County.
And you came to us and you said, we don't want her to have 3 years. Let's put this on 6 months. Let's see if she does
I
the right
didn't say
thing.
6 months.
Well, we told her 6 months and then she did the right thing. So I have a hard time saying now that she did the right thing, that this board is going to sit here and say, we're not going to honor that, or we're not going to understand that.
I totally understand that. All I'm saying is, instead of 3 years, let's go a year. You give a, when you rent a place, you usually get a year rental. You know, at least with the landlord.
Let's hear from the
Is there anything
attorney.
else, Mr. Hulse? Anything else you'd like?
No, I just want to know what kind of guarantee am I going to have when I call code enforcement or I call public safety and they say that it's not their problem.
Pam, do you have something? You have something to say? No?
She's the other neighbor in front.
I asked if she wanted to say anything. She said no.
Tell them where you live.
I let her speak for herself. If
Yeah,
she
if
wants
she
to
doesn't wanna
speak, she
speak,
can
she doesn't
speak.
have to speak.
Let's hear from the
Is there
attorney.
anyone else that would like to speak on this application besides the applicant and her representative? Okay, go ahead, sir.
What do you say to that? Makes some sense.
Which part?
We had all sorts of issues with numerous neighbors complaining about not good behavior. And now with the threat, sort of the ISLIP sort of Damocles of 6 months, your applicant, your client did the right thing.
Yes.
And cleaned it up very much so that neighbors who were really upset when they came in were saying, hey, it's been okay. What should we do? Apparently the short leash worked. Should we continue a short leash?
No.
This gentleman has
No,
a point.
I understand his point. However, I am curious that this woman, because of a alleged.
Oh, wait, don't go back.
Well, I can't
Listen
because
to
he
me.
said
Sir,
that,
sir,
that
sir.
she ripped his son, a new one, like when.
Don't talk, guys, listen, don't talk over me. And I want to have him talk over you.
I apologize.
You
sir.
weren't here 6 months ago.
No.
Right? So it's going to be very difficult for you to tell us what we heard and what we saw. So let's not go there. Hold on. You may not like it, you can look down and pretend I'm not speaking, but we made a determination that we found those people credible. That's old news. I'm looking at going forward. What do we do? How do we assure ourselves and the community that we're not going to end up, if we give 3 years, that it's going to go back to what it was before? And we've already made the determination that it was not good before. How do we handle that?
I think my client has proven herself worthy of the 3-year extension. I think to hold her feet to the fire would be quite prejudicial to all of a sudden give her a second ultimatum. I think that's unfair. I think that to put her under that microscope and to be treated differently than anyone else who's applying and has proven themselves, I have an uncomfortable feeling about that basis, because I don't know how are we just going to keep going? Okay, another 6 months, another 6 months, because that is what the gentleman is asking for.
Well,
He's asking for
that's why I'm positing it. I guess in my own mind, I'm not 100% sure what we should do. I believe that she has done right by the neighbors, but I'm still a little concerned that there was such bad things that happened before that's why we gave it 6 months. So I'll leave it at that. We have 3 of the members on the board. We're very wise.
Anyone else who would like to be heard in this application?
You want to, can my client say anything?
Sure. Absolutely. I would give us the name and address, obviously.
Go ahead, you're going to state your name and your address.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Daniela Munoz. I reside at 278 Comac Road in Islip.
Idea.
They all coming up here next?
Yeah. Okay. You want me to restate my name? Okay, thank you. Okay, so at this point, I would just like to say that I feel harassed. I purchased this home 4 years ago, and I applied for a permit 3 months later. The same people came just after 3 months with certain allegations that I had a daycare, that I had a huge dog. That was the first instance when I appeared in front of you. My permit was renewed for 3 years. Again, other allegations, noise, drug dealing. I mean, I don't know what else they're going to make up. And the reason I feel harassed is because they are focusing on my noise level. However, they don't mention how this gentleman here has like 20 chickens. I don't think the Islip town permits more than 4. And no one complains about the chickens that make noise since 5 in the morning or the tractor he uses for the lawns.
We can get by the
So that's why I feel harassed, because they keep making up things about me
Okay,
and they don't refer, I'm sorry.
You
Yes.
feel harassed, but we
Mhm.
already made the determination back in April that we found those people credible. So you can feel harassed that way. That is your right, but we make the final determination.
Correct.
What assurances, whatever you've done the last 6 months, it's changed. What assurances can you give us that you will continue as a good neighbor?
I think, if I'm going to speak,
Mhm.
I think my client has shown a willingness
She has.
and an intention to cooperate. She's shown that she can live in peace with her neighbors.
I agree.
So the only assurance that she can give you is that she's going to continue to be a tax-paying resident of the town of Islip. She's going to maintain her property in accordance with the town code. She's going to ensure that there are no noisy parties or
I agree with what you
anything
said.
else.
She's done everything that we asked her to do. There's no question there.
And she will continue to do that. You know, she lives at that house. She lives with her extended family. This is a family house. This is a family house, and they want to keep the rental permit. This is a peaceful family. Grandparents live there. It's just, I think this is a family that's trying to make their way on Long Island. And I would just like them to be able to do that, as we all do.
Anyone else? I know some people just walked in. Anyone else would like to be heard in this application? Take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion that we reserve decision so we can study everything in this file.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Decision's been reserved.
And
Thank you.
just for clarity, the record's closed, so the staff can't accept any more submissions to the file. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to thank you.
Well,
A lot of people here for.
Application number 85-24, Stephen and Jacqueline Gates. Permission to install in-ground pool leaving side yard of 6 feet instead of required 14 feet. Residence A District, east side of Comac Road, 296.43 feet north of 47th Street, Islip.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services with offices at 231 Islip Avenue, Islip, New York. We are here today seeking a variance for a proposed in-ground pool. The applicant has requested a side yard of 6 feet instead of the 14 feet required. The reason for the 6-foot variance is so that the pool can be placed closer to the north side of the property line. They want the proposed pool to be situated closer to the property line because of the detached garage that sits in the rear of the property. The property owner utilizes that garage to store a vehicle, and unfortunately, the driveway is situated on the
Can I make a
opposite side.
suggestion?
Yes,
10 feet?
perfect.
Planning, you okay with that?
I do believe that it could conform, so it probably should. Board has granted 10 feet instead of 14.
Does anyone else like to be heard in this application?
I'll make a motion that, oh, I don't want to step on everybody's toes.
It's
Where is
you.
it? Oh.
Step on your own toes.
I remember where you are, Bill.
Yeah, I forget. I'll make a motion that we deny the application, however, grant a variance of, what did you say?
10 feet.
10 feet. 10 feet. 10 feet, not an inch more.
Got it.
Thank you.
You get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Granted, it is modified.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Application number 86-24, Michael and Donna Svensson Placenti. Permission to install in-ground pool leaving side and rear yard of 8 feet instead of required 14 feet each, and pool equipment leaving side yard of 3 feet instead of required 6 feet. Residence A District, west side of Edgewater Avenue, 89.42 feet north of Harriet Road, Bayport.
I have more to say unless you want to throw another number at
You
me.
want to make an appearance?
I do, I'm sorry. Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services, 231 Islip Avenue, Islip, New
Which side would you like to comply?
I would prefer the rear yard variance just because the property is not as deep as typical A zoning.
Okay, so as long as one side complies, it's Augusta Board.
Are we okay with the pool equipment of side yard of 3 instead of required 6? Any comments? Please?
Given the precedent just said, I would say one side complies and the other 10 feet instead of 8.
Oh, you have to ask the boss.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? Is that acceptable with 10 foot from the one?
I actually would, if possible, could we leave it at 8? Just because, like I said, typical A zoning would be 75 by 150, where here the property is 75 by 120. So the area that's left for the pool with the rear addition that has been placed on the house, and then the requirement for building separation would make it a little bit difficult to comply with a 10-foot rear and a compliant side yard as well.
Tiny little lot.
We're gonna give the rear.
The rear, which would be to what, the south? Sure. Okay, I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion that will deny so much of the application seeking a variance of,
Wrong entrance. We have to go around.
Next door over.
Next one.
where'd I leave off? Variance, where we'll grant 10-foot, no, 8 foot to the rear of the property and 10 foot to what?
8 foot to the rear.
Yeah.
I'll take a motion if we could. Need to call the meeting to read permission to install in-ground pool Remove reference to the side yard with a rear yard of 8 feet instead of required 10 feet.
I'd make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good night.
I think so. That's my guess. Application number 87-24, Kim Axelrad. Permission to leave detached garage, 23.4 by 28.1, having side yard of 3.9 feet instead of required 10 feet. Corral having side yard of 3.5 feet instead of required 10 feet, and driveway having side yard of 1.1 feet instead of required 4 feet. Residence AA District, east side of Montauk Avenue, 250 feet south of Oceanside Street, Islip Terrace.
Hey, good evening. I'm Neil Axelrad, 851 Montauk Avenue. I'm the husband of Ken. AL. So yeah,
What is in the corral?
nothing at this point. There used to be horses. We don't have any horses anymore.
Then it's just a fence.
It's just a fence at this point. Yeah, absolutely.
Messina once said, a corral without a horse.
Just a fence, absolutely.
He's
What
not.
I said.
Judgment.
So in that case, it doesn't need the setback relief.
Fair enough.
You can delete it from consideration.
Lenny, you have any comments on this?
With regards to the, or just.
So the corral is a non-issue. What about the garage?
The garage, there is no precedent for a garage that boasts approximately 657 square feet total, rather large garage, close to the property line. I know in the past, sometimes it was just over the 500 threshold. The board is considered because at 4 feet, something less than that, but in this case, it's 150 feet larger than.
How old is this house?
Uh,
And how old is the garage?
So the house was built in the 70s and the garage was put there about 10 years ago.
House is built.
The garage is way back in the yard. It's not, it's just mostly, it's like a workshop.
It was built 10 years ago without permit or.
Right.
Does anyone else would like to be heard in this application? Motion reserved on this?
Second.
All in favor? Who
Aye.
made the motion? You did. Oh, you said
I'll
you'll
take
take
the
one.
motion.
Oh, I thought I heard motion to
No,
I'll
reserve.
take a motion to reserve.
Let Ed make the motion.
Make a motion to reserve.
Thank you. Ed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Decision's been reserved.
What does that mean?
We're gonna have the conference on it.
Okay. Thank you.
You'll know in 62 days.
60. That's
62.
62 days.
We
Yeah,
are
thank you.
within 62 days.
So we're in good shape.
Other
You'll get it all in
All in
one-stop
a minute.
shopping. Thank you.
Application number 10-24, adjourned from January 16, 2024. Dennis A. Valise. Permission to leave gazebo over outdoor kitchen having side yard of 1.1 feet, patio having side yard of 0.1 feet, and driveway having side yard of 2 feet instead of required 4 feet each. Residence A District, west side of Race Place, 1,015 feet north of Burrard Boulevard, Oakdale.
Salvatore Coscia, permit to us, 338 Jericho Turnpike, Syosset, New York, 11791. Good evening, Mr. COS CIA. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My apologies for my non-appearance at the last hearing. Unfortunately, I was at the hospital with my mother. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Vellis. As you stated, we're looking to legalize the gazebo and the patio and the side yard setback of 1.1 to the gazebo, 0.1 on the patio and the driveway, having a side yard of 2 feet where the required is 4 feet. I know there's opposition here. The neighbors are not happy with the gazebo. Client's willing to drop the height a foot and move it over a foot if the board chooses to allow that. However, I know they have comments, so I'll step aside if they.
What is the current height of?
Approximately 12.
Yeah.
So they want to reduce the gazebo to 11 feet from 12 feet,
Correct.
and then they want to move it back a foot?
They would move it over a foot, correct.
I'm just curious, why just a foot if they're going to be moving it?
The gazebo's there to cover the outdoor kitchen. Moving it over anything more than a foot really exposes the entire barbecue island, which is the whole purpose of the gazebo, is to cover.
Yeah, but does moving it a foot really have any impact? It's like you're giving the neighbors snow in a blizzard.
Understood. However, my client's asking,
Unintended.
I get it. I'm just representing him. This is what he is hoping for. Obviously, where it is, the clients have an objection to it, which I totally understand. Otherwise, the only option is if the board doesn't agree, he would just have to move it over to the 4 feet to comply, in which case the entire barbecue island would be exposed. I know that they want to come up and speak, so if you like, I'll step aside.
Give them a chance to speak, 'cause then
Yeah.
What are the setbacks?
Absolutely.
There is no precedent for this. The gazebo itself is a. It does peek over the fence. But yeah, there is no precedent for gazebo of this size, which is not. Right.
It's at 12 feet, and what is the permitted height?
The height is permitted. It's up to 14 feet. The
Okay.
reason it's being brought up is just due to the proximity. It does sort of power over. But it's allowed up to 14 feet.
And where is it on the overhead? Could somebody show us where it's,
would
see how it
be
impacts the neighbors?
Right about here.
The setback's what, 4 feet?
Yeah.
Supposed to be, so if it was 4 feet, the height wouldn't matter.
The height's not in question.
So the size is really not in question, it's the setback.
Right.
Yeah, the setback is in question.
And
Partially due to the size. It's
Yeah, no, I
more
understand
setback because it's bigger than 100.
Is that a covered pool in the next door neighbor's yard? I'm just trying to figure out what that.
I was
is.
thinking, I don't think it is.
Oh, what is that, a basketball court or?
And they're here, you can ask.
Yeah,
them if
I'm
you
just
want.
curious.
I don't know.
Often we get concerned about the outdoor kitchens because that's where people congregate and that's where the noise gets loud. And that's one of the issues we have, although it doesn't look like there's anything immediately on the other side, but.
Now, from what I understand from the last hearing, their concern, and I'll let them obviously state it again, was the fact that it was blocking sunlight into their garden, which is why my client was proposing to lower it.
Okay, so is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? No?
Hi, Town Board. Jamie Whitney, 28 Race Place, Oakdale, New York, 11769. WITTK. I wish it was more than the height. They say it's 12 feet, but we think it's a lot higher than that. That's the main part, and it's too close to the fence. That's
Well, you
we're
heard
concerned
what
about.
the planning rep said. They're allowed up to 14 feet in height.
Okay, so whatever the distance is on the zoning, I guess.
Code requires it to be set back 4 feet.
Okay,
And you're telling us you'd like it back 4 feet.
whatever it is, whatever the zoning is.
And where do you live?
28 Race Place.
That doesn't
Directly
mean.
adjacent neighbor.
Right.
Oh, you're
It would
right.
be the impact.
That would be the
If you're
impact
gonna
of
speak,
neighbors.
just give us your name and address.
Alana Bernagazi Whitkey. I also live at 28 Race Place. BERNAGOZZI.
Is this what it looks like?
That's not a picture for me. I don't know.
I mean, it looks like it belongs in the Adirondacks somewhere. It's huge.
You know what the main issue is? The grade is different from our yard, so from outside, it looks that much more massive. That's the issue.
From their side.
It's not from this side, that's from there.
Oh, okay.
This packet we got is from you?
No.
You know, I guess I'm addressing this to both of you, but I'm looking at the photographs we have and that gazebo really does tower over the.
That's it.
I mean-
That's the pictures. Yes, they have.
Yes. This is the town. We have everything.
They submitted that.
I say we haven't. But that really does tower over. I mean, that is unfortunate. Is that what your complaint is? The earth?
The tower and also the outdoor kitchen that's there, it's, if you show, we have, pictures in there where it's actually blocking out the fence from the heat from the griddle, barbecue, stove, whatever it is right buttoned up to the fence. So it's not only the height of this thing, which I think it's a 12 by 16, but whatever he says, I'm sure that's
I'm sorry, the heat from the barbecue?
the heat from the barbecue. So he has the stove that's right, our fence is here, and the barbecue griddle, whatever it is very, very close to the fence.
Melting the fence.
That's really the main concern, fire hazard.
But not need a variance?
Does though, doesn't it?
I feel like we didn't.
Yeah, we've had, we're having a discussion about whether or not the outdoor kitchen requires a variance, and we think it does. We've had these before.
But is it in the setback? I can't. It's not, okay.
It's not.
It's a use variance.
No, we've had outdoor kitchens that are too close to the property line before. We had
I
one
just
on
asked him
East.
if it was a setback issue.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess it was missed because, oh, it is.
No, the call of the meeting just says permission to leave a gazebo. Over, yeah, but it doesn't imply that the outdoor kitchen is wrong.
Anytime you want to come in and type up.
So,
I actually added.
Why are you doing that to the town?
I actually added the outdoor kitchen to the call of the meeting.
so
The
we
buil-
are
the
going
buil-
to be considering the
Because it
gazebo
re-
and the outdoor kitchen.
Well, the outdoor kitchen requires a setback of 4 feet as well.
Okay.
The building department did only write this up as the gazebo. But this board has heard outdoor kitchens numerous times and the setback required is 4 feet. So I added it, and I'm sorry to tease you, Chris, but I added it under the gazebo.
Okay.
So aside from the setback and the height, is there anything else?
With the gazebo, no.
Is anyone else that would like to be heard on this? Okay. come on up.
My name is James Sellick, Sellick. I live at 23 Race Place. So I live directly across the street on the corner. I mean, I can see the gazebo from my living room. And me and my wife personally have no issue with the gazebo. You know,
If you live next door, you would.
no, I live directly across the
No,
street.
if you live next door, you would probably have.
No, I wouldn't.
Across the street.
You know, I wouldn't have a problem with it. You know, I mean, as far as I know, the heat that was talked about on the fence, first of all, it's Dennis's fence, I believe. You know what I mean? It's their fence, so I don't know what the concern would be with that. And also too, is to see it, I don't know if there's a picture, but from their yard, I mean, there's giant trees there. So I don't see, you know, I just don't see the big impact on it, you know, and me and my wife, as far as I'm concerned, we have no issue with it.
Okay.
You know, it's not an eyesore, I don't think, you know, anywhere as far as the neighborhood, so.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? Okay.
So just so we're clear on this, we're adding the barbecue island to this setback issue?
Barbecue's gotta be set back.
Okay,
More than a barbecue, right? What does it consist of?
so barbecue island,
It's a barbecue and we have the plans for it here.
yeah.
I mean, it's not just a Weber barbecue. It's set in the record clear. It's set in.
It's set into a,
Yeah, it's
you
set
know,
into
a stone island.
Stone and
Yeah.
foundation. It's a whole deal.
Correct.
Okay, so it's not just a barbecue. It's a
And the
whole-
No, it's not right. It's not a barbecue on wheels. It's
Plans,
just
the
a
plans
Weber. You can
indicate a
move it.
sink, a cooktop, a refrigerator, and a 2-burner stove.
Kitchen.
Accurate?
It's a outdoor kitchen. Yes.
Thank you.
Can they comply with that? Can they move that out?
Could they move the entire barbecue island at a very considerable expense? It's a stone structure.
Without benefit of permit.
Understood. So we're looking for a compromise then. Remove the structure, keep the barbecue island.
No, because that's still gotta be set back.
Right, and to compromise.
Take a motion to reserve.
Second. I'll make a motion to reserve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Tonight.
What?
For you, it's got 3 tonight. That's perfect.
Be on a page. You want this tonight?
Thank you. Have a great night.
I've had my bohemian,
comment.
I've had my bohemian nights.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I know. I thought that's immediately what I thought of. A similar case that Mary buried it. Didn't have to issue denial. No, it was an honest mistake.
Guys, we're on a roll here, reserving.
I won't either.
Has anybody
Arian,
arrived
yeah.
on the application of 82-24, Angel Nelson Velasquez and Maria Velasquez?
Nice day.
I'll contact them. Yes, okay. Application number 88-24, Caroline Shelton, permission to subdivide parcel into 3 lots. Lot A, to leave 1-story dwelling on lot having width of 66.43 feet instead of required 75 feet. Lot B, to erect 2-story dwelling on lot having width of 66.43 feet instead of required 75 feet. And Lot C, to erect 2-story dwelling on lot having width of 66.43 feet instead of required 75 feet. Residence A District, west side of North Clinton Avenue, 105 feet north of Kristen Court, Bay Shore.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board and members of the public. My name is Justin Light. I'm an attorney licensed and admitted to practice law, maintaining offices on Higby Lane in West Islip, New York for about 4 years. I represent Ms. Shelton, Carolyn Shelton, to my left with regard to this application. Carolyn is the title owner of this improved residential real property located at 1434 North Clinton Avenue in Bay Shore. As per the call of the meeting and the public notice, this application is seeking to subdivide the existing parcel into 3 buildable single-family lots. For the board's edification and the public, at the same time we submitted this application, we submitted a minor subdivision application to the Islip Town Planning Board. Suffice it to say that my client will conform to all the requirements that may be required by the code, the planning board, and this board as well. Unfortunately, I'd like to initially point out there was a slight error on by the surveyor, but we take responsibility for it in that the zoning designation on the proposed map has it as residential B, whereas the property is actually situated in residential A. I'll comment more about that as I get into the presentation, but suffice it to say that whatever structures are permitted to be built will conform completely with the residential A requirements. Again, the gist of the crux of this application is for a single variance for each lot, each of the 3 lots, requesting permission to build a single-family unit on each lot having a width of 66.43 feet instead of the town code requirement of 75 feet, which my math is just 8.57 feet shy, which in a percentage-wise is about 11% relaxation of the code. And each of the lots will be identical. A brief review of this lot might assist in that it's essentially a geometric square comprised of 199.28 feet of frontage and 194 feet of depth, aggregating about 39,000 square feet in total, just shy of a buildable acre. I know this might not be completely relevant, but I thought it was important if I just talked a little bit about my client. She's a lifelong resident of Bay Shore. Her maiden name is Middleton, which some people know is, I won't say famous, but it's a well-known name in Bay Shore. Her grandfather served as the pastor for the First Baptist Church in Bay Shore for his entire adult life. And her father, Hayward Middleton, served as both the commander of the VFW Hall on 2nd Avenue and was also a Grand Mason at the Masonic Temple in Bay Shore. Carolyn is actually a very active person herself. She's a member of the NCNW, which is the National Council of Negro Women. Getting back to the characteristics of the property, and I see the mouse going around a little bit. The property itself is sort of interesting, is that you have CA zoning directly to the east, and you have residential B to the west. And there's only approximately, well, actually, there's a total of 12 houses within the 500-foot radius that are zoned
residential A like the property, the subject property. I do submit that this subdivision would be in line and in character to the nature of the existing. More particularly, the proposed lot subdivision would be on par with some existing homes.
Mr. Light, I'm sorry, do you have a radius map for us? I'm trying to find out within a 500-foot or a 200-foot radius, how many similarly situated properties are, how many 66 are there?
There's actually some less than that, so I did have some maps.
Right behind it.
That's a different zoning designation.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Because if you tell us that there's 50 affected properties and there are 20 that are similar, that's persuasive. If you say that there were 50 and there are 2, that's not so persuasive. So I'm trying to find out the number.
5 out of 12.
5 out of 12?
Yes.
But there's more than 12 in, just in the A zone? Okay, so 5 out of 12.
It is difficult here. There's a lot of different zoning
Right.
designations.
That's roughly 40%.
Very little residents in the area.
So you handed us up an exhibit and it shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are widths of 63, 59.7, 58, 50, and 50. And you're seeking 66.
Yes, we're bigger than, or less of a deviation, or relaxation than those shown. And just to be a little bit more specific for the record, unless I'm boring everybody, 1436 at North Clinton has a 50-foot width. 1442 is a 50-foot width. 1445 is a 50-foot width. And then if you jump over to Fifth Avenue, which is right next door, 1423 has the 49.7, and 1418 on Fifth Avenue has a 63 foot.
Let me ask you a question. Why can't they build 2 lots and they'd be conforming and you wouldn't need us?
That's a great question. I guess we could, but to maximize the return on the property, and also, I think if you left the property with 200-foot lots, that would be less in character or conforming to the area. We do have a precedent, by the way. Back. Board, or predecessor.
There you go.
Anyway, back in 2001, write some notes on this. 2001, yes, the ZBA 059-01. This board granted that applicant permission to leave a 2-story dwelling on a lot having 50 feet instead of 75 feet, which obviously is more of a relaxation. But in all fairness, I did note that there was a denial from this board for 1439 and 1443, which is across the street. However, that application, in my opinion, and I'll advocate, is much greater and distinguishable. They were asking for a 22.6% relaxation, which is more than double than what we're asking for, from 75 to 58 feet.
So at the end of the day, you're telling us that roughly 40% of the existing homes, or 5 out of 12, have less, and you're seeking about 11% relaxation in width for all 3, and otherwise the 3 proposed homes need no other variance.
To conform completely to the code, yes. Thank you. And the only other point I'll make is this is in the Southwest Sewer District, so there will be no, I know this isn't really necessarily an issue for the board, but just in general, we don't anticipate any health department or county issues. Thank you very much.
Glenn, do you have any comment on this?
Presentation was very thorough. I don't have very much to add on it, honestly. And he was very fair about it. There was a separate 3-lot subdivision that was denied, as he said. He's also correct to say that they were asking for substantially more, not even just in terms of the lot width, but there were other variances.
You're never so praiseful of attorney.
Hey, it's a good job. The request is not too significant, and they are otherwise completely conforming to the zoning designation.
Anyone else that would like to be heard in this application?
I'll make a motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Application's granted.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
You're right on that, Bill.
Oh, you wanted us to deny it? What, you want us to deny it?
Yeah. I didn't want Application number 89-24, Dulce Nunez and Guillermo Marmal. Permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code, Section 68-602. Residence AA District, south side of Nostrand Avenue, 400 feet west of Bergen Street, Brentwood.
Good afternoon. I just coming for, permit for, apartments, second floor. Excuse me? Oh, okay. My name is Dulce Nunes. I'm 40 Nostrand Avenue, Brentwood. You are? Okay.
Okay, no. Ms. Nunez, you are a co-owner of the property. You have 50%. You're going to live there, right? It's owner occupied?
Yes.
Yeah, because the other co-owner lives at a different address. I'm just making this clear because the accessory apartment ordinance, in order to satisfy the owner occupancy requirement, one of the owners has to have a minimum of 50% ownership in it.
Okay.
So I just wanted to be sure because the other driver's license that we were given for your co-owner, Guillermo Marmal, has him living in Islip Terrace.
Yeah, he's my son.
He's your son? Okay, okay.
He does not live there.
No, he's not living there now.
Okay, that's all.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Oh, ma'am. Oh, not done.
We didn't vote yet.
He's gonna wait for the ending.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application?
And the apartment is 668 square feet. And I believe the driveway, yes, the driveway is double wide, double deep. It complied with engineering's requirements.
Take a motion.
Motion to approve the application for a period of 3 years.
Second.
Nicole, you
All
second.
in favor?
Aye.
Application's granted.
Now you can go.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody want a break? No, everything's good?
Let's just go through it.
No.
Application number 90-24, William Cabrera Saldana and Pedro Carrion Chavez. Permission to reconstruct two-story barn, leaving height of 20 feet instead of permitted 14 feet, and gross floor area exceeding ground floor area of dwelling. Residence AAA District, west side of Deer Path Road, 750 feet south of Sportsman Street, Central Islip.
This is Martin.
Evening, my name is Robert Carrion, Carrion. I come to speak on behalf of Pedro Carrion, Carrion, Lilian Cabrera, Cabrera. We reside at 32 Deer Path Road, Central Islip, 11722. I'm gonna be translating a couple things, so forgive me if I'm going back and forth.
Yes.
All right, so the first item here is the height. You can address the height for us and then the overall size of the structure.
So the height of the barn is 20 feet instead of 14.
If you could speak into the microphone.
So the height of the barn is 20 feet. ¿Cuánto es la altura de la?
It says permission to reconstruct. What happened to the original construct?
So when we went to go inspect to see if everything was good, the wood was rotten. And all we did was just rebuild the walls and put a roof on top. And we didn't change the height. Well, we left it as is. All we did was just reconstruct the walls and the roof.
But was it, is there a CO?
Oh, when we went to go and get it, there's no like state saying the height requirement or anything. We went in and asked, and we told them that if we need to cut it down, we will. But you know,
I'm just trying to find out how it got there. Is there a CO? Is there a?
it says right here, accessory building.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Just one second.
So what happened here is that when this was originally seen before the board and CO'd, accessory structure height went up to 18.
Right.
We also measured height differently. It was the difference between the lowest and the highest point.
Right.
So a 20-foot barn could have been conforming at the time. Now it's 14-foot total height and it's measured up to the top, which makes sense. So now it's being brought in question, whereas it wasn't the first time that it was.
So it could have been conforming originally.
Yes.
We can't say.
I believe that
definitively
it was conforming
It was?
originally.
Are there horses on the property? Are there horses on the property?
No, but they're planning to get.
So that the intention, is this the intention to use this as a horse barn?
Yeah.
And why do you need it at 20 feet for a horse barn?
It's
Not
just
a
that-
giraffe barn.
No, of course, yeah, I understand that, but my parents own a construction company. The name of the company is Alexis Carrion Corp. And they wanted to use the top part as a storage room for some material or for some tools that they use for the company.
Not just a horse barn, it's also storage.
Yeah.
For our business, that's.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's not good.
But that's fine. But like as I was saying, when we went to the town here, we told them that if we need to shorten it down, that's fine. That's not a problem.
Well, if you shorten it and make it smaller, does it have to be smaller or just shorter?
But as well, we would like to know if we could leave it as is.
Yeah, I could get on board with this. The roof down. I can get on board with the size.
The CO was 2,100 square feet, whereas the one-family dwelling was a little over 1,000.
How'd they ever get CO when it's larger than the?
I don't think that was part of code at the time.
What year was that?
88. It was originally heard in 88. It was CO'd in 2002.
So let me ask you, if they reduced the height to conforming and they had a CO for basically the existing size, we don't have any knowledge that's changed, gotten any larger. I'm wondering what the issue is.
To me, the issue is mostly with the height.
The
That's
height.
really is part of the thing. And what's happening here, it's a very substantial reconstruction.
Right.
It is the opinion of planning that when something is non-conforming and it is in disrepair, that we would rather just phase it out entirely. Now, they went and reconstructed very substantially without the benefit of permits. So,
But they did, not that it's very relevant, but for me, it's a little bit relevant. They did stay within the footprint, right? And we sometimes
Best
see,
of
oh,
my
we
knowledge, yeah.
reconstructed and they come back with a
to the
palace.
best of our knowledge, yes, any inspectors haven't been able to really get on site to do it.
Okay. I mean, I just measured this out and this is roughly 2,100 square feet.
It does appear to be roughly the same.
Nick, I know generally zoning, that is the goal, is to phase out non-conforming when they are no longer rebuildable or usable. However, I think this board has kind of a history of allowing, if it's already been there, to continue what was there. We get these all the time where a building is built pre-code, it's been there 70 years, and we allow them to build what they had. We often don't make them raise it to the ground.
It's my understanding, we're not asking to raise the ground
Right,
necessarily. It's my understanding that oftentimes when that's granted, it's for repair works and exterior repair work. And it's my understanding that it's closer to a total rebuild, within the same footprint effectively, but closer to a total rebuild than any kind of exterior repair work.
Right.
This also does have a bit of a history. When it was originally denied by the board. And
when?
In 87, when it was first heard.
He wasn't even born yet.
Yes, I was.
Oh, okay. How old are you?
Like 1, maybe.
Now, obviously, it wasn't denied for height at the time. It was denied for a side yard. 2 years later, it was granted after review from the DEC. Now, they have several historical issues with the state DEC with regards to dumping in Connecticut State Park. And it is my understanding after speaking with the DEC just yesterday that they have a current notice of violation as well for all the construction happening here. I don't know if you received that notice.
This is a violation for New York State.
Now, did these people, the applicants, they had issues in the past with dumping?
In the
Or a
past,
prior
no,
owner?
currently, yes.
Okay, so currently there's an open violation with the DEC
Yes.
for what? For construction without a permit or for dumping?
For the construction and for dumping, as I understand it, there's also some drainage rings in the area.
Ma'am, you can't.
Wait your turn.
You can't.
So
It's important for
originally-
everybody.
Originally, it was denied with the intent that they would come into conformance with the DEC and all of their concerns. That was agreed to, although it's unclear, according to the DEC was not really adhered to in the end. Now there's a new violation with the current work as well, with regards to what they've been doing here. And as of today, the DEC has not gotten a response.
So this board denied it in the past, waiting to hear about compliance with the DEC.
Yes.
And now fast forward, we're back where we are. We
Yes.
have an application and we're still waiting for the DEC.
For a
and
separate
then-
violation.
And there may be new violations and further non-compliance.
Right.
So why would we do anything different than we did in the past?
Right, why would we give any relaxation when we don't know what the circumstance is, as we sit?
I'm a little hesitant to even go forward on this because we're right back where we were. We're almost rewarding an applicant for not complying with the DEC and not complying with what we requested. We denied it because they didn't do that. And now if we were to grant it, it's almost like rewarding them for their non-compliance.
To be clear, I also don't think we should be granted the height regardless, but I do agree with your overall.
I have a question. Is there wetlands nearby? Is that why the DEC
Yeah.
has jurisdiction over
There's a
construction?
stream going through right at the corner. So this would be what the DEC generally maps. Obviously, it doesn't map exactly to this, but there's a stream that goes like right through here. And this area is wetlands, from my understanding, based on the minutes. Even where the barn was originally wetlands that was cleared and destroyed.
Interesting.
It is directly adjacent to Connecticut State Park.
I bought it in August 18, 2023.
Who did you buy it from?
I bought it in the real estate.
But nobody.
The problem we're having, and maybe you can explain this to your mother and father, is that the prior owners, not them, didn't do what they were supposed to do. Didn't do it, but we denied it because they didn't do it, and they didn't comply with the DEC. Unfortunately, your parents step into those shoes. They inherited this problem, and that problem becomes their problem, becomes our problem. And I think, I'm speaking for myself, we would like to see compliance and get a report from the DEC so we know what we're dealing with. Because I don't see reporting, not your parents, but the property, really, that's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Non-compliance with prior.
No, dile que ya está la aplicación allá.
My parents have, she said that they're in process with the DEC, and I would like to know as well, the violation of dumping of where is there a violation of dumping?
I don't know the exact specifics of what they do, but it's my understanding. I spoke with Kevin Jennings at the DEC Ecosystem Health. He said that they issued a notice of violation to your parents some weeks ago, maybe even. It's actually past the date where you were supposed to have already responded.
Okay.
And he indicated to me that he would certainly like for you guys to contact him at your earliest convenience. However, they will proceed with the violation regardless of whether or not you do.
All right, no problem. Okay. Les avisé.
That was as of yesterday. I spoke to him.
But the application is there. I put there the application. They say they need application.
It's beyond an application. The construction already started. It's already a violation.
Oh, okay.
No, that's all. I mean, about the barn, is there anything that we could do about it or?
It's a referee.
Yeah, no problem.
Referee, right?
Folks, if we could, there's obviously a number of you people here. Just gonna repeat what someone else has said, we ask you don't just ask. And get a few key points and that's it, okay? Who would like to speak first?
Good evening. My name is Michael Ahern. My son and I and my father live at 33 Deer Path Road, Central Islip. Ahern. I have a letter composed by my son. I'd like to give it to the board. This copy for each one of you. I can clear up all the problems about the wetlands. I know everything that has taken place on the property since Jim Burton owned it, when they filled in the property 3 foot deep with construction debris. Charles Brook is the water that runs right through the middle of the property. When Jim bought it, there was actually a car bridge that went across Charles Brook. I have photos of the old dwelling, the original barn, which was built without permits, without inspections. Somehow or another it passed. We put a huge dormer extension on the back of the house. No permits, no inspections, none of the regulations that the board and the town of Islip requires, and yet the extension passed. It almost doubled the floor space of the house. I would like to give these photographs to the board. This one is the existing barn.
Mr. Ahern, are these photos you sent to our office today?
I didn't send photos.
Okay. I think it came from a Michael Ahern, and the email was.
Well, maybe my son did. This is the barn when the little one. I had no idea. I knew there was a bunch of yahoos back there. This is.
No, I know, but I'm saying, when was it built? Was it?
Like 38 years ago?
Oh,
Okay.
You agree that these people bought it last fall?
The applicants.
I guess so. I'm not exactly sure when they took ownership of it. You know, it was on the market.
We have these.
There was foreclosure, there was problems with it. So I guess somewhere around that time. Now, you have a picture of the original barn?
Yeah, we have these photos. Somebody sent them to us.
Okay. This is showing you what they're planning to do if they pull in a barn. This is a picture of the barn that it looks like now. By definition, we're trying to make a boarding house.
Horses of what? Horses?
No, there's going to be no horses in this. This is a picture of the barn. This is a picture of what the barn looks like now. They went right in there without any permits, without any blueprints, anything to do with the town. And they just tore the roof off the barn, took the hayloft off, and put a second floor on it. Then they closed up the aisleway doors on either side.
Podium, just so
They closed up the aisleway on either side, which if you were going to have a barn, that would be the last thing that you were going to do. Then they put house windows and everything. They put a dormer on the south side of it, which is on the park side. It does not represent a barn anymore. All this was done without any permits, without any blueprints. Now, if they were building a barn, I want to know, and no septic system. These are cesspool rings. That's in front of the house, in between the house and the barn. Why do they want all the cesspool rings? Not a septic system. On a sensitive ecosystem right next to the Connecticut State Park, they were just going to start sinking rings in the ground for lots of people. Not a horse barn, not animals. because
We based it on how many rings. Again,
Well, we got, Billy, we got five right
I'd
here.
say nine rings because in the last week, they built yeah, they built,
Makes me think of the story.
But I also think the DEC shares your concern, so does this board, and when we hear planning is agreeing with you, so I don't know.
Can I make a
You know.
suggestion, Mr. Mayor, and we'll let you
Yeah.
finish, but can I make a suggestion? You and everybody else. My thought process is that we're not going to decide this night, one way, hang on,
yes.
one way or another. We're going to adjourn it because we want to hear from DEC.
Yeah.
We can't make it. We're not going to do anything that least we get from DEC, certainly be fair to all sides. So I'm thinking, and I'll run it by boss, sorry, if we adjourn it without date, we can then reschedule it when we know, and whoever wants to appear to make a check.
I think it could take a very long time for a resolution to be arrived at with.
Yeah, it could take,
I
it
think,
could take a year and a half, 2 years.
As we heard earlier, there was a 1988 decision and the CO was issued in 2002. I think that the information that we have is probably worthy of note that violation was issued by DEC and they're awaiting time.
Right.
But this
And-
violation is still a presumption of innocence.
I understand, but planning also doesn't want the height. They've said that.
Mary, what if we deny this without prejudice so they can clear up their issues with DC and then come back?
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't know.
I have a question for the board.
Yes.
What do you do about the construction that was done without any permits, any blueprints involving the town at all? If I'm a contractor and I've worked in Islip Town, I've built houses, rented houses, sold houses, always complied with the building department. If I did this, you would have made me tear it down. And then after I got a stop work order and I went back to the job anyway, you would have arrested me and given me a fine.
Okay, can I just speak for the board? That's not within this board's jurisdiction. Can that be done? Can the town take action against somebody who's built outside the code? Yes. Okay, but we're not going to accomplish that tonight because we don't have jurisdiction as a zoning board. We can either give you a variance or not give you a variance. What you're hearing tonight is that a variance is not, it seems to me that the rest of the board agrees that a variance is not going to be issued tonight. That's for sure.
Correct. Okay.
Sounds like it's headed, I'm following up on. It sounds like we're heading in the direction of the denial. Without prejudice, then in the future, once we come back, not going to get very much time.
Okay. We all talked to the code enforcement, the neighbors, the residents. We talked to the DEC. I never heard back from them after I went up there. So I don't know what their thoughts are about any of this.
Again, I'm speaking for, I think none of us fell off a turn. We see 5 rings.
That's not all of it.
Understand.
Pardon me?
That's not all of them.
Not all of them, but it's still quite a few.
Yeah, 5 rings for sewage. When it's supposed to be storage. I have a huge problem with that problem.
And last week, there was 3 rings sunk. And they built another structure that they put goats in, which isn't 144 square feet. It would require a permit. And the goats are running around everywhere. Garbage in the street, yada, yada, yada.
Anyone else would like to be heard?
Understanding that we're going to deny without prejudice. And when they should reapply, whether it be in 6 months, a year, 2 years, you will all have the right to come back and say whatever you want. If you say, hey, you can tell it tonight, but I don't know if I'm going to remember, all of us going to remember what you said in a year. You may want to say it.
Or that all of us will be here.
You'd like to speak?
I don't know.
What's your name?
Lisa Vogelsang, 80 Deer Path Road. St. Joseph, Vogelsan is Nancy G, 80 Deer Path Road. I understand all of this with the DEC and the denials and this and that, but I'm just speaking as a neighbor and as a resident. Our fear is that this is going to become a flop house. There are numerous vehicles there now. There are multiple people living in this location. There are multiple cars, multiple children coming out of this location daily, getting on buses, and dogs running loose. And this is not legal in any way.
You heard what I said, trying to be denied. Don't.
But what about all the people living there?
We call the town, I think, code enforcement tomorrow and talk with them about it. We have no authority to do anything about it.
So it's just called code enforcement.
Code enforcement will come and take you out of our council to give you more information.
They would never issue us a ban.
Okay, I didn't know who to call or what to do to follow through with this, because this is
We understand and.
very, very
We're all on
upsetting.
the same page. We already told you what we're going to do. No surprise.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Nancy Manfredonia. I live at 23 Deer Path Road, Central Islip. Yes, it's Manfredonia. I just want to, as the person who's probably lived there longer than anybody else here, I have a real concern about the property on it from an environmental perspective. Few of you may know I've been on the environmental councils many years. I have watched this property be abused for so many years, so much dumping on this property. So, the fact that it was wetlands at one time, snapping turtles, the whole kit. I don't feel comfortable. The DEC takes a long time to do things. There have been, in the last week, cesspool rings have been buried. What can you tell us to make sure that this doesn't continue? Obviously, the barn has been turned into a house. I mean, that's.
Ma'am, we don't have jurisdiction over this. What can the zoning board, we can give a variance, we can deny a variance. As far as those types of things, you need, DEC is a law enforcement unit. They have the authority. They're a serious outfit. If you call them, they will respond.
I understand that.
Okay? We do have code enforcement. If they're building stuff that's outside the code, who can take action. But this is a zoning board, which consists of, I believe, 5 lawyers. And, we're not in the process. We don't have jurisdiction. We don't have the ability to go out and stop people from doing this.
Well,
You're in the wrong forum. That's.
Well, maybe not. I mean, I'm just asking because, I understand you will most likely deny this. So that's good, but.
That's all we have.
Review and deny.
Yeah, can I ask you a question? In a perfect world, what would that
Well, since everything was built there without permits and so forth, will you be talking to your code enforcement people to do something so this doesn't continue and people don't end up living in that house?
has to be, I mean, you don't have the.
We've got tons of neighbors
So make a
complaining.
complaint.
We actually do. We can't afford to make any, form, all that stuff.
Okay, you don't connect with anyone else in the town of
We're
Islip?
not allowed to. Right. We can't be judges and be partisan.
If you call into code enforcement, they are required to send someone out to dispatch to see if there are any town violations. If they personally observe any violation of town code, they are instructed to issue tickets. But again, they have to personally observe those violations. But you have to be the ones to call and initiate that process. It can't come from us.
So you're saying that this is through the town of Islip code enforcement?
Correct.
We're neutral. It's like in a case, we ask the judge to go out and effectuate the event. So the judge, we have to be neutral and fair that we don't call privately, we don't call the public, we don't call the applicant, we stay neutral. As you've been told, you could file a complaint and George to the town attorney's office. They have to come out and inspect it. It
Okay.
doesn't happen as quickly and it doesn't happen overnight, but that's how you do it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Aside from the applicant, is there anyone else who would like to be heard of this?
What is he, whooping cough?
Good night. My name is Pedro Carrion. I try to speak my English for the guys understand. I don't understand. I know the neighbors can me complain, but I try to get a property. For the property, I try to clean. But when I get the property, it's very much. I think that my neighbors, no one, I clean the property. For the question, the
Come here and we're told that you're not having responded to the DEC.
correct.
Correct. That's not a good thing. Now, wait, you're asking for something. We're asking for a variance, a benefit that you haven't complied with the state.
Yeah, I have already the.
Wait. Second of all, we are not brutes. We didn't fall from the sky with the snow. We see at least 5 rings for sewage, and you tell us that, oh, it's the storage. Storage doesn't use the lavatory. So we have major problems.
We
I-
don't know.
Have credibility problems.
I wanna.
Why are you having 5 rings free? Wait. 3 have already been installed if it's storage. I have sheds on my property, illegal, and I don't have freaking for them.
Okay,
Why?
the rings is not a purpose for do nothing on the property. For I know the forms, the town come, I'm putting me a stop work order, that say I need to apply for the permits. Okay, the rings there, I told my son, I explained the guys, I explained it to you. My son explained to you, I have a construction company, I'm do foundations, I have my license. No, but I don't have idea. I try to clean between next week. I clean the.
You can't use residential property.
To run your
for
business.
storage of business. You're like missing out on every point. It's not good.
Okay,
You're not going to permit it.
I understand.
I just want to let you know. So it has nothing to do with neighbors don't like you, we don't like you. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And when you have already, as we've seen the pictures, installed 3 rings, you buried them, that's not storing construction equipment. You're doing that for a purpose, and a purpose that structure not to be used.
No, I know install the rings. The rings is there in the property.
They're not supposed to be there. You can't
Yeah, I
use
know install the.
residential property.
I will clean next week and I,
That's good.
yeah, I let you know something, 1 minute. When I came to the office, to the Barons, and the ladies, I talked to them, I say, no. When I came to the Barons in the office, I explained them, I can't come to the Barons because I received the email, I need the letter for the DEC. And the office say, no, you don't need, you need that for the town. Okay.
Can I speak for it? So for the question that the lady came up and asked about the amount of people that are living in the house, my parents we have a really, really big family.
Solo dile que vivimos con mi familia, nada más.
We have a really big family, so my parents, there's a lot of rooms in the house, so we allow some family members to stay at our house. According to the cars, my parents own a couple vans, a couple trucks. Cars come and go because of the workers coming to take the vans because obviously they own a construction company. And the cesspool rings aren't there to be installed. They're only there. Yeah, of course, we understand that. So my dad is gonna take that away. We're gonna resolve that. Yeah, we're gonna resolve that and take that.
clean this week.
So, they're gonna resolve that within the next week to take that out and, whatever we have to do, we'll do.
Let me make the motion before we say all that. Let's just make the motion.
I'll take a motion.
Motion to deny the application without prejudice.
Second.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Have a good night.
Not really, not really. It
Keep
became
saying we're
really
going.
obvious.
Like that hat.
Like that.
Thank you.
We need to do any,
Thank you. We do. No. course not, Chris. Natasha, we're gonna order that. It's worth. So I'm glad you. Because we're gonna need it because we made our motion like right at the hearing. So we're gonna need the transcript to support that. All right, no rush. Shanita, how many? I don't even. Yeah, that I know. Thank you.
One lady started crying in the front row. I was like, get your shit together. You come through the wrong door.
I mean, nice job cutting all that off, Joe.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
One needs to take with Natasha. Just take it on. Okay, before we start these, we have 12 departments renewed for 3 years and two family only. Do we have a motion?
Aye.
Okay, and everybody, just here are 5 previously reserved decisions. Dan Sullivan's not here, so all but the first one will be voted. Application number 914-22 in accordance with Frank Johnston. The application is granted, subject to the provisions of section 68-149.1D. On motion of
Second.
Mr. Wexler, Susan. Application number 694-23, Mercedes Infantes, Idolina Rios, and Ana Benitez de Cruz, in accordance with the proposed decision dated February 2024. The application is denied front yard access. However, granted permission to maintain a front yard occupancy not 50% granted as decided by motion of. Application number 737-23, Mark and Carol Barbara. In accordance with the decision dated February 2024, the application is granted as amended by the commission, excluding that part concerning drainage. Motion of.
Aye.
Application number 17-24, Michael Linger. In accordance with the decision dated February 2024, the application is denied as submitted. However, granted permission to maintain not to exceed 46.1%. Oh, sorry.
Second.
All in favor? All right. Application number 18-24, Ariana and Eric Stubman. In accordance with a proposed written decision dated February 13, 2024, the application is denied permission to install pool on rear property lines. However, permission is granted to maintain a rear yard setback of less than motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. That's a wrap.
Hooray.